So today I'm sharing on choosing life no matter what. And I actually feel quite emotional as I speak to this. Because in my own personal life, I can remember when I look back at so many crises in my life, personal crises, extended family crises, when so much was going on that affected me personally. How could I choose life with that sort of stuff going on? And I asked some people who are part of the seminar what they wanted me to talk about. So I'll start on that first. How can you choose life when you see the disasters going on, the injustice going on, either in your own personal life or in the lives of those, and particularly children, and you see what's going on, and you're just, which is enabled, it really actually, you feel, I mean, for me, I felt crushed. I felt broken. I felt powerless. I felt like I was totally unable to do anything other than pray. And I know that that's the highest thing we can do, is to go to the source of life. However, how could I deal with all of these injustices? How could I do that? And then one of the other things I'll talk to you about, which kind of they blend together, is this is what I did. And I'm speaking to it directly because if I didn't, I don't know where I would be today. So I had to learn a very simple thing. Please hear me. It relates to everything every area that I'm going to talk to about balance, about expectations, about injustices, and everything else. I was so desperate, apart from going to groups and prayer groups and everything else, which supported me. Eventually, that went to a certain level, but it never really changed the deep feelings of emotional stress that I felt when I saw tragedies or injustices in my family, or something continued to go on where you saw somebody you love constantly being hurt and you couldn't change it. What did I do? This is what I'm suggesting for you. I'm only sharing. It's for you to choose life. It brought me life, but not straight away. It brought me life in that moment. What I did, and I'm forever grateful, because I had come to the place of total frustration, of kneeling before the cross for hours on end and all sorts of things that I did to affect change or get God to affect change in certain situations. And there was some change, but ultimately he wanted me. What do I mean by that? What I chose to do that brought me life in the midst of all of this, and in the midst of what was happening in the world, and certainly in my family and in myself, I actually went and sat down. And you're saying, come on, get real. What you did, you went and sat down. Like, how can that affect anything? How can that be life-giving? Well, it began to turn me into another track, totally. And this track, this path, and Agape is about sharing the path of life. That path of life for me, and I actually could cry out of gratitude now, was I sat because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to pray anymore. I didn't know the answers. I didn't know what was going to happen in the future. I know we've been told not to go in the futures, and I didn't know with the expectations of others what to do about it. And the key for me, and the gift I'm giving you today, is whenever you feel like this, wobbly, emotional, stressed, overwhelmed, any of those feelings and emotions that I used to feel a lot, and I still do occasionally, I now know what to do. I did this. I went and sat down and I began to have a real relationship with who I thought was there. I didn't know if the spirit was there or not. I didn't know because I couldn't experience anything except my distress, the pressure from everyone's expectations and my own expectations, the imbalance that I had in my life that made me feel resentful. I didn't know what to do. And for me, when I look back at all of that, and you can do this, it costs you nothing but your time. You're given 24 hours a day. And I knew that. But I made a choice, and I chose to sit down with the one, now I realize, who was giving me life in the moments. My cousin died a week ago. He's two years younger than me. He was given life in the moment. He came in from 6 hours of gardening and doing all sorts of things for other people, a good man. He couldn't even take his boots off. His wife, he asked his wife, "Can you take my boots off?" And she said, yes. And she went to take his boots off. He lowered his chin and died. At that moment, his life was over. I don't know when my life is over, your life is over. But while I'm here, I choose to go back and sit. And what do I do when I sit? And I can only share from here whether I have pressures and expectations, imbalance in my life, tragedies going on. I had someone ring me just before the seminar ran, a family member, with something that had turned around that's turned back, some member of the family, and another crisis that she had. Could I do anything other than listen and be present? That's all I could do, and keep thanking the one who could help in the moment. Just before, I always get challenged just before I recognized it, just to be. So I go back as I did, I don't know, maybe 40 years, 45 years ago, but particularly 26 years ago. I think I sat for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Then it went to a half an hour. Now, I had no limit. Sometimes I was so distressed because of what was going on, or my imbalance, or the expectations I had of myself and others, and I wasn't satisfying anybody, and I was getting resentful. I would sit until peace would come. I didn't know how to do that once. I didn't know what I know now, which I continue to submit back to the one who shared with me what has changed so many people's lives in certain circumstances, in those moments, often at the depth of their life. But, it could be conscious, unconscious, subconscious, but it can change their life in that moment, in that place, but it's an ongoing journey. So I go and sit, and then I try, and I work at it. It is, if you want to be an athlete, an Olympic athlete, if you want to be good at your job, if you want to have good relationships, if you want your house to be looking good, whatever you want to do, if you want your organization to flourish and go on the path of life, and you don't want to have others expecting things from you, and you want to find balance, then sit and get in touch. Come out of your head, because all of those become their realities, but they're distractions from, and they get in our head, and that we lose ourselves in our head and our thoughts and our lack of capacity. And so I sat, not knowing what to do. After 2 hours, I can remember this day as clear as anything. This peace came. Did I know what to do? With expectations, balance, with tragedies that I could see? No, I hadn't got a clue. But over time, as I sat silently, not knowing what to do, this peace came. So I decided I made a decision to choose life by being still. You heard the words be still and know. But you don't be still to know. You don't be still to get something. You don't be still to change something. You don't be still to want something fixed up. You be still in the presence of the one who is giving you life. My cousin Ian no longer has life here. I believe he has eternal life because he was such a good man. But your life is here in the moments, and this is the key. I'm going to talk a long while today. When I experienced that presence of peace, not knowing the answers, I became like a little child. And it says, hold my right hand. Every day, most days I get up and say, hold my right hand like a child. Lead me on the path of life and fullness of joy in your presence, despite what's going on. Why? Why? Because now I know, as I've done that, I come to a place of peace and I ask him to flow through me. Something good happens through me. I go back and give thanks because I couldn't do anything good on my own. It flows through me, so it keeps my ego intact. How do I know how to have balance in my life? How do I know how to deal with the tragedies now? Now I know a simple way to do it. I mean, certainly you can sit and be still, like I did. I still recommend that. And then practice his presence and remain in his presence. That's the ideal. Because in his presence, there is peace forevermore. Peace forevermore, despite not knowing the future. It's our choice to choose to remain in the only moment that you have now. Now, when I didn't know what to do and I had to practically do something with friends, their expectations or mine, or balance in my life, to a few things I did. That one was really quick. Because sometimes I don't know, feelings absolutely rise up. Certainly in me, I was going to explode a few times. And I had the awareness because I was sitting still and I was given that gift of awareness. And the words were take over, take over. And in that instant, I would be transformed into a quiet lake, which was literally impossible humanly. That was one thing. Take over is a quick one. The other one is for balance and for the future and for tragedies or anything else like that. When you've got time, make time. Because if you don't make time for you, other people are not going to genuinely become your friends and genuinely make time for you. In the end, you don't need or want friends. They will come to you effortlessly. And they will be the right sort of friends who won't need and want. And you will be shown what to do in the moment, in the moment. And if it's about the future, you'll get insight. And you'll know that's from wisdom because it will bring peace. So if you're not at peace, this is what you do. And you've heard all the seminars that are on YouTube are the same thing. We go back to the meditation. As a result, this is what I was shown after years and years of working with people, just helping them to get present to themselves because they were in their head. They were lost. They weren't in their body. They weren't realizing what it was doing to them, which makes them less than and incapacitated and hopeless and out of balance and being at the mercy of the world or whatever was going on, is to deal with your feelings. Sit down. I'd say to him, well, I don't even know how I feel. I'm such a mess. You show me what I'm feeling. That's why we do the body, mind, heart, and spirit. So that I'd sit with that, not comfortable. I don't want to do that. I hate it. I'm sick of looking at my negative feelings. But if I don't, they control me and I react out of them rather than respond out of wisdom. So deal with the feelings. The feelings and emotions that you feel need a voice, or else they take root in your mind, in your heart, and your spirit, and those feelings control you, and you then get addicted to people, drugs, whatever, to make yourself feel better. So deal with every feeling that's coming up. Acknowledge it. This is attending to the wound in your heart or your mind. And let those feelings then, let him, the wonderful counselor, the wonderful healer, the one who's present, who's giving you breath, say, what am I thinking? Because your thinking is creating your life. What are you thinking? And more often not with expectations, it's, oh, if I don't do what they'll expect me to do, they'll think I'm terrible. So what? Let them think. Real friends don't love you just unconditionally. So what? It's our expectations of what we expect so that people will like us and fill that space that needs to be filled with presence and love. Are you really hearing this? This can change your life, and it's everyday choice. Choosing life no matter what. Take over. How would you have me see this? Right? So, or if you get in a real mess, sit down and deal with your feelings. Let them go back to your, what am I believing and thinking in this? And what's your perspective? The three-way perspective. Mine, three-way perspective is about also getting others' perspectives. I heard a wonderful story, just giving you a break, the other day. It was full page in the Herald Sun, and I loved it. This young man came from a good family. He was from an Asian country somewhere. It doesn't matter really. Anyway, because he felt very alone, he got in with the wrong crowd, ended up getting into cars, stealing cars, ended up in jail for 6 years. I'm making this very short. And he said, I was in the wrong crowd. He said, it felt good. I didn't think about what other people thought. He had no expectations. He was wanting to do things that made him feel good, gave him a buzz, an adrenaline run, made him belong to a gang. Went to jail for 6 years, and he said 2 wise heads, old heads, came to him. Did you hear the word wise? Because ultimately that's the key. We need to go back is to wisdom within us. Show me wisdom, what you would have me see. How would you have me see this? What would you have me do? Listening to wisdom to guide our lives on the path of life, not other people's path. This young man came out. He said, they said, you've got a good family. In his case, he had a good family. Now make something of your life. It turned him on. He did an exercise where he sat with 3 chairs. And in each chair, he sat in the chair of his mother's chair. And he imagined what his mother would feel as a result of what he had done. You can do this. This is a 3-way perspective, really. And it's a great way. It changed his life. So when he really he was genuinely seeking to know, he was choosing life, and he wanted to know how his mother felt. And he really took on what he'd done to his mother. And he realized how the opposite of life-giving it was. It was life-destroying. It was bringing death to her. So he sat in his mother's chair. So he sat in another chair of the people that he'd stolen cars from and gone into their houses. And he sat and imagined being them. And he got how terrified they would have been, how traumatized they were, and how unjust it was when they were just wanting to go to bed and be. And I've got goosebumps as I speak, and how unjust it was for him to go in there and this is the reap and leave them with this trauma, same as other parts of the world that we're talking about. And it changed his life. Then he came back to himself and sat in his own chair. So he sat in each chair because he wanted to choose life. No matter what he'd done in the past, he wanted to bring it to good. guess what happened? And this is what you can do. This is what you can choose, but you have to choose. And you have to be authentic and do the hard yards. People I know now at the moment are cutting themselves yet again because there's pain. They have to unfortunately come to the place where they need to listen to their emotions and feelings and sit with their pain. That's what I've heard from a whole lot of people last week. They had to learn to sit and be with the pain, be with the emotions of anger, resentment, unforgiveness, hatred of yourself, all of these emotions. They had to sit with it all. Feelings of powerlessness and frustration. They had to sit with it, emptying as this young man did. So it made space to allow life, the presence of life, to come in there and show him step by step. He came out, went back to a youth group, a counsellor, and he didn't want to know him. He said, "You've been here 5 times before, you failed, you're useless, nothing." He said, "Give me one more chance." He was in the Herald Sun last week, and he was headlines. And now he is finally, as a result of what I've shared with you, he is now a youth worker. He is now being really successful because he relates, just as I relate to people on here, because I've been there, I go there. He's now sitting with them, hearing them and sharing his story and then listening to them, which is what Agape's been doing for years. And apparently it's been so successful. These young men coming out of jail that have caused havoc are no longer offending. So what is it you can do? Will you sit with your pain, with your frustration, your imbalance, your expectations, and just really get in touch as a result of what's it actually leaving me feeling? What's it doing to my thoughts? Because your thoughts are, what you think is what you'll get. Will you take responsibility for you? And then allow yourself to listen to, and this is the key, to wisdom. Wisdom and truth. Show me the next step. Show me how you'd see this. Show me from your perspective. So it's not just our perspective, there's wisdom's perspective, who will take you one day at a time, one moment at a time, if you allow. If you go into the future, you leave wisdom. Wisdom has said, remain in me, remain with me. Will you do that? And when you forget, will you forgive yourself? Will you learn to love yourself, knowing you're human and you're broken and you're learning? And Bruce and I my husband and I have made a decision that we no longer judge, condemn, criticize. I know what that does to people. It puts you into a dark hole. But it makes you heavy and powerless. I don't see the point in that. That's not life. That's death. So it says, choose life in Deuteronomy, not death. Every moment you and I choose life or death from what we think, how we act, and what we take responsibility for. Choose life and allow the life giver to take you one moment at a time. And all you have to do is to still be authentic about where you're at and thank the spirit of life to show you wisdom, to show you the next step, and his perspective. Will you do that? Will you choose? I was so desperate, I chose, and I continue to choose. And I continue to choose whenever I get out of balance, whenever I get upset, whenever I want to rage at somebody. I choose to go and sit back and take responsibility. Whenever I feel trapped and over it, I'm hoping you'll choose life, no matter what. And you'll see the results. The results are sweet. They're life-giving for everyone. And things will come to you effortlessly. Thank you for listening.